The comprehensive harm of ultra-processed foods. A deep dive into NOVA classification, health risks and mechanisms of damage. 1. Introduction. Defining the ultra-processed threat. In modern food systems, ultra-processed foods, UPFs, represent a category of industrial edible products that have become ubiquitous, driving both convenience and significant public health concerns. Unlike traditional processed foods that undergo simple alterations like freezing or milling, UPFs are formulations manufactured primarily from extracted food components, oils, fats, sugars, starches, and proteins that undergo extensive industrial processing. Their manufacture often involves multiple steps and the addition of substances rarely used in home cooking, such as flavor enhancers, colorants, emulsifiers, bulking agents, and chemical texturizers. Scientific investigation into the widespread consumption of UPFs has uncovered compelling links between these products and a vast spectrum of adverse health outcomes. Researchers, including Dr. Montero and his colleagues, developed the NOVA classification system to categorize foods based on the nature, extent, and purpose of the industrial processing they undergo, providing a crucial framework for studying this phenomenon globally. The NOVA system's fourth and most critical category, ultra-processed foods, is the subject of intense scrutiny, with conclusive evidence suggesting they are not merely nutritionally inferior, but are actively detrimental to metabolic, cardiovascular, and mental health. This comprehensive analysis will explore the NOVA classification, dissect the mechanisms by which ultra-processed foods exert their harm, and review the substantial epidemiological and interventional evidence linking them to a cascade of debilitating health problems. 2. Understanding the NOVA classification system. The NOVA system classifies all foods into 4 distinct groups based on the degree of processing, offering a clearer lens through which to examine modern dietary trends than traditional methods that focus solely on nutrient content. G. Fats. Sugars. 2.1. Group 1. Unprocessed or minimally processed foods, the foundation. This category includes natural foods that have not been altered or have only undergone minimal processing that does not fundamentally change their nutritional composition. Examples are fresh, frozen, or dried fruits and vegetables, legumes, nuts and seeds, meat, poultry, fish and eggs, milk, plain yogurt, and whole grains, rice, oats, quinoa, coffee, tea, and dried spices. 2.2. Group 2. Processed culinary ingredients for flavor and preparation. These are substances derived directly from Group 1 foods that are used in cooking to season or prepare meals. They are typically not consumed alone. Examples include oils extracted from seeds or fruits, olive oil, corn oil, butter, sugar, salt, and vinegar. 2.3. Group 3. Processed foods. Simple alterations. These are relatively simple products made by combining foods from Group 1 and Group 2, often to increase durability or enhance palatability, using simple preservation methods like canning, bottling, or fermentation. Examples include canned vegetables preserved in brine, simple breads baked with minimal ingredients, cheeses, cured ham, and salted nuts. 2.4. Group 4. Ultra-processed foods, the health concern. These are industrial formulations made predominantly from Group 2 ingredients, fats, sugars, salt, combined with synthetic additives, emulsifiers, flavorings, and colorants. They are designed to be highly palatable, cheap, and convenient. They are typically ready to eat or ready to heat. Examples include sugary soft drinks, energy drinks, sweetened breakfast cereals, and packaged baked goods, cakes, cookies. Reconstituted meat products, sausages, chicken nuggets, instant noodles, prepackaged desserts, and flavored yogurts are also included, as well as infant formulas and many forms of packaged bread. 3. Epidemiological evidence. The scale of the health crisis. The correlation between high UPF consumption and negative health outcomes is robust and growing. Supported by massive cohort studies and comprehensive meta-analyses, The sheer volume of health issues linked to UPFs underscores the severity of their impact. 3.1. Convincing links to major chronic diseases. 3.1. Recent comprehensive systematic review and meta-analysis reported an association between UPF consumption and 122 different adverse health outcomes. The most convincing evidence linked UPF intake to significantly increased risks of all-cause mortality, an increased risk of death from any cause, cardiovascular disease, CVD, mortality, specifically death linked to coronary heart disease, and stroke, type 2 diabetes, increased incidence due to high glycemic load and metabolic disruption, obesity, strong, consistent evidence linking UPF intake to higher rates of weight gain and accumulation of visceral fat. 3.2. Mental health and cognitive decline. A concerning area of emerging research highlights the link between UPFs and mental health disorders. Studies show a compelling association between higher consumption of UPFs and an increased prevalence of common conditions such as anxiety, depression, and mood disorders. The mechanisms are believed to involve chronic inflammation and the disruption of the gut-brain axis, the communication pathway between the digestive system and the brain. 3.3. Gastrointestinal and renal issues. UPFs have also been strongly linked to an increased risk of several gastrointestinal disorders, potentially due to their low fiber content and high concentration of emulsifiers and synthetic additives, which can disrupt the delicate balance of the gut microbiome. Furthermore, associations have been found with chronic kidney disease, highlighting the systemic stress they place on the body's filtration and waste processing organs. 4. Mechanisms of harm. Why ultra-processed foods lead to overconsumption. The scientific consensus points to a combination of factors, both direct chemical effects and behavioral structural characteristics that explain why UPFs are so harmful. 4.1. The hyperpalatability trap, synergistic sensory effect. UPFs are engineered to be hyperpalatable through the calculated addition of fats, sugars, and salt, often referred to as the bliss point. The combination of these components, often at high caloric densities, creates a powerful sensory signal that overrides the body's natural satiety cues, the feeling of fullness. Intervention study evidence. A landmark 2019 randomized controlled trial conducted at the National Institutes of Health, NIH, vividly demonstrated this effect. Participants were housed in a clinical setting and given 2 weeks of a minimally processed diet, followed by 2 weeks of an ultra-processed diet, with both diets matched for calories, sugar, fat, and fiber content. Crucially, participants were allowed to eat as much as they wanted. During the UPF phase, participants spontaneously consumed approximately 500 more calories per day and gained an average of 1 kilogram of body weight. Conversely, they lost weight during the minimally processed phase. This study provides direct, causal evidence that the ultra-processing itself, not just nutrient imbalance, drives overconsumption and weight gain. 4.2. Low satiety and rapid ingestion. The soft, low fiber, and aerated textures of many UPFs, such as soft drinks, packaged bread, and processed snacks, require less chewing and resistance. This leads to rapid ingestion, bypassing the physiological time delay needed for satiety hormones to signal fullness to the brain, further encouraging overeating. 4.3. The nutrient matrix and reduced thermogenesis, the removal of the food's natural nutrient matrix, the physical structure of the food, through industrial processing means the body expends less energy in digestion and absorption, a process known as dietary-induced thermogenesis. Because UPFs are quickly absorbed, the body may use slightly fewer calories to process them compared to whole foods, contributing to a positive energy balance and weight gain over time. 5. Chemical and biological mechanisms of direct toxicity. Beyond the behavioral mechanisms, the chemical composition and additives in UPFs pose direct threats to cellular and vascular health. 5.1. Vascular damage from sugar spikes. UPFs often contain vast amounts of added sugar, fructose, sucrose. The rapid absorption of these sugars causes abrupt and dramatic spikes in blood glucose levels. High and sudden glucose surges are known to directly damage the delicate cells lining the arteries, the endothelium, and fuel systemic inflammation, a precursor to atherosclerosis and heart disease. 5.2. Additives and endocrine disruption. Certain food additives emulsifiers, for example, polysorbate 80, carboxymaltulose, and artificial ingredients found in UPFs are chemically active and have been implicated in various forms of metabolic disruption. Gut microbiome disruption. Emulsifiers are thought to interfere with the protective layer of mucus in the gut, potentially allowing harmful bacteria to colonize and leading to a pro-inflammatory state in the intestines, which is linked to conditions like inflammatory bowel disease, IBD, and metabolic syndrome. Endocrine and hormonal interference. Some chemical additives and components of packaging, leaching from plastic containers, can act as endocrine disruptors, interfering with the body's complex hormonal signaling necessary for regulating metabolism, appetite, and satiety. High advanced glycation end products, AGEs, many UPFs, especially those pre-cooked at high temperatures, like baked goods and packaged snacks, contain high levels of advanced glycation end products, AGEs. AGEs are toxic compounds formed when sugars and proteins are heated. They promote oxidative stress and inflammation, accelerating the aging process and contributing directly to chronic conditions, including diabetes and cardiovascular disease. Navigating the NOVA debate. Nutrient-rich UPFs. A minor yet acknowledged critique of the NOVA system is that it classifies some arguably nutritious foods as ultra-processed, Group 4, solely based on the degree of industrial processing. Examples include whole grain packaged bread. While better than white bread, it still contains industrial emulsifiers and dough conditioners. Flavored yogurts. The addition of sugar, colorants, and flavorings moves them from Group 1, plain yogurt, to Group 4, despite containing valuable protein and calcium. Infant formulas. Essential for non-breastfed infants, they are technically UPFs due to their industrial synthesis. Nutrition experts concur that while a few Group 4 items may contain valuable nutrients, for example, fiber, calcium, the overall strategy for public health must focus on minimizing the majority of harmful UPFs and maximizing Group 1 foods. Substituting plain yogurt, Group 1, for flavored yogurt, Group 4, or choosing whole, single-ingredient grains over packaged whole grain cereal, often Group 4, is the safer, more effective approach. Conclusion. The precautionary principle and dietary action. The scientific evidence is overwhelming and consistent. The habitual consumption of ultra-processed foods, as defined by the NOVA system, is a pervasive and multifaceted threat to health, associated with increased mortality, chronic metabolic diseases, and mental health decline. The mechanisms are complex, combining the behavioral effect of hyperpalatability that leads to overconsumption with the direct cellular damage caused by high sugar, AGEs, and chemical additives. The safest and most scientifically supported dietary strategy for individuals is to implement the precautionary principle. Prioritize Group 1 foods. Build the diet predominantly on unprocessed or minimally processed foods, fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, nuts, and minimally processed proteins. Cook at home. Maximize home cooking using simple Group 2 ingredients, oils, spices to control the quality and quantity of fat, salt, and sugar. Strict limitation of Group 4. Actively reduce or eliminate frequent consumption of items like soft drinks, packaged snacks, instant meals, and industrially formulated breakfast cereals. By shifting away from the convenience of ultra-processing and back towards the nutritional integrity of whole foods, individuals can decisively mitigate their risks and secure long-term metabolic and cardiovascular health.